And welcome back for another battle report. This is my game 4 from the Essex Gt, so continuing that series. I was drawn against Fyreslayers and we were playing Better Part of Valor. My list is still unchanged, funnily enough, what with this being a tournament. My opponent had the Vostarg Lodge in Fyreslayers, an angry ginger dude on a Magma Droth, an angry ginger dude with the banner, an angry ginger dude that does some prayers, another angry ginger dude, 3 units of 5 small angry ginger dudes with guns, 10 vaguely angry battle line, and a great big unit of really scary small ginger dudes. I think I got his battalions right, Lords of the Lodge and Forge Brethren, I think, and he's got a runic firewall. So here we go. Here's our setup. So we've got our 3 objectives each lined up in our areas. I've put a boat here and a boat here just to try and give me some cover whichever side I ended up with. Again, I'm not sure the scenery comes in massively. Oh no, there is the woods there in my deployment zone is in fact arcane, so for once I might actually be able to cast a spell. And we're in the realm of Haish, whatever. Basically, the one where the Realmscape feature is you can skip a casting phase to then be able to double cast or double dispel for the rest of the game. So my opponent gets first turn. He uses his immune to battle shot rune, and off we go. I didn't flip the tides this game. I figured I wanted to maybe make my big push in around turn 3 rather than super early, to give him as little amount of time as possible to react and reclaim any objectives I might take, because his units are quite slow. So he fairly cautiously forms up a fighting line over here on his right flank, casts up his wall, just make a nice bit of protection around this objective on this side. These guys are buffed up the wazoo. They've got more save and more hits and more everything, and just basically don't go near the little wankers. Probably a better plan. And he's left his unit of Oryx back here to control his objectives. He did consider trying to get a first turn charge off with the Magma Droth, but it was just a little bit too far for him. So into my turn 1, yeah, low tide, so I've got cover this turn. So I just sort of shift up a bit. I'm fairly confident you can't pop up and take these. Over on this flank, you'll see I've got my Eternal Guard, I've got some archers, and more importantly, I've got the Soul Render with the Shroud of Midnight. Some archers, thralls, but really, my entire battle plan for this game is to hold my objectives, just grab one of these and burn. So basically, this is down to the eels doing a good old job. Also notice, as is becoming a bit of a theme, the Soul Render is off floating about in the Ether Sea, and he's brought his best bud, the Achillean King, with him. I'm just really enjoying that little strike force to come on somewhere, and it also means I'm not completely screwed if my opponent manages to zone them out. So anyway, a fairly uneventful. I don't cast anything because I make the super item, which means I can actually cast a couple of spells a turn. So my opponent actually gets priority in turn 2, and he goes for the +2 movement rune. So here we go. He pushes up with his Magma Droth. He decides to go for it. He's pushed up here with his Hearthguard. Again, buff them to buggery. He uses the breath weapon to pop a couple of wounds, or maybe just one over on these thralls. I don't think he was particularly lucky with that roll, so I took that one away to try and make the charge difficult for him. Yep. And I do believe he did try and charge, but it was just a little bit too long for him. So anyway, again, I'm feeling fairly confident here in turn 2. So, my turn 2. Flood Tide. Run and charge. Reroll ones to hit. Let's do this. So we push up. Now, these guys have run. I think I used a command point to get a 6 to run, so their plan is to get into this unit of Auric, which are just off screen down here, take that objective and burn it, and then put all the pressure on my opponent. These guys are going to try and take him out, and you'll notice that my soul render has pushed up, and in fact my opponent having priority this turn and actually going first probably helped me out quite a bit. So what I've done is I've put him here, so there isn't enough room for him to get any units past there, unless he makes a super long charge. But there is a bit of room here, so I think I end up changing my mind and bringing the archers up as well, because the way I figure it is I just need to get to my turn 4. So all I need to do is get to my turn 4, and I think I'll be absolutely solid. So what I've done is I pushed him there, because what will happen is he can charge in. Now, this just means he can't charge this way. He can't scoot past me, so he's got to charge this front line up here. And the way I see it is, it's turn 2. So best case scenario for him, he gets priority in turn 3, charges in, and then he's tied up in combat, because he can either, he'll just demolish the Reavers. There's not even a doubt there, but I can pop my Shroud of Midnight. He's going to be stuck there for one more turn at least, not being able to get out. So that's the plan. Magic, I think I've cast -1 to hit on these guys, just in case it absolutely screws up against the Magmadroth, and these guys have come in at the back to help out, because the point is here I can then just sweep up, because these guys ain't coming back to help with these objectives. They're far too far away, and he's committed to trying to take one of mine. So if I can just roll up this flank, I should be golden. So my charges go in, everyone goes in. I go first with the eels over here. Just takes off the Magmadroth, but we do lose 2 eels for our troubles in terms of because he's got the 4-up mortal wound. I don't know, acid blood. It's got stupid alien acid blood, whatever. And over here, he doesn't do much, funnily enough, with his shooters to anything in combat, and I just delete them. So, I decide at the end of this turn to burn his objective, because I now control it, which gives me a 1-0 lead at the end of turn 2. We roll for priority, and oh, I lost priority. I don't think I took a picture of this one. Incredibly blurry action pic of him doing his move. You can just about make sure, if you squint your eyes, turn your head sideways, and really think about it, that he's within 3 inches here. Throws a couple of throwing axes over here, try and take my stuff out, and he charges in. A bit of shooting goes on into these guys, but not a whole lot. Looks like I lost 1 to shooting. Oh no, a couple. Something's going on down here. I think I'm getting shot with all the shields from the berserkers and the shooty dudes. Anyway, up here, he actually doesn't do so well on his first go, but I think he uses his Lords of the Lodge, if that's the right one, ability to pile in an attack twice, just to get his guys a little bit further around. And he's just sat there going, please don't hit me, please don't hit me, please don't hit me, please don't hit me. So there we go. Utterly surrounded, which is actually an absolutely great move, because otherwise I was going to run him off and keep him alive in my turn, but that was just not meant to be. So at this point, he decides to burn his own objective here to get 4 points, because I think I didn't take the picture of this, but down on this side, oh, I just didn't take a picture of it. So these guys basically charged in here, and my units took them off, because it's turn 3 and it's high tide. So they charged in, and because they don't really have armor, so he popped his ability where you know, if he dies he gets to strike, but he went in. I'm hitting with 1,000,005 attacks from these guys here, so I just take these chaps off, 2 wounds be damned, they just go, and that's what killed a load of my eels down at the bottom. I just decided not to take a picture. That's them having taken them all off and being killed by the return attacks. Hence why he burnt his objective that his Oryx were guarding here, because otherwise he knows that 3 eels and the king will just come up and take it. So he burns it to take 4 points. And I do believe we call the game there, because we know that in my turn 3 all I have to do at this point is burn every single one of my objectives to get up to 13 points. And the most you can score from that one there is 8. So at best the game would have ended 13-12 to him at this point, and if we're honest, there was no way. At best he was going to take my top objective. Well, no, this turn, you know, I mean, many things could have happened. We just called it here, because the only thing threatening me were his Hearthguard, and they've already used the +2 move rune in turn 2. In turn 3 they were using the -1 rend rune. So, you know, all I had to do in my turn 3 was burn that one, hold the other 2 for another 16 points, and so on and so forth. So we just called it here. 13-4 to me at the end of turn 3, with no chance of my opponent coming back at it. So I was really, really chuffed. That put me on 3 wins over the weekend, so already exceeded my own expectation. And, you know, looking back at it, going into this game, I just saw the block of Hearthguard, and I think in any other scenario I would have had a really, really, really hard time getting through that, because you could have just sat that unit somewhere key and strategic. But because of the nature of this scenario, I think I just lucked out utterly in this matchup, because he just didn't have the... Well, Fyreslayers don't like splitting their forces up, and he had to send his main threat forward to try and take my objectives, which just left his own objectives completely unprotected, and my units are approximately 14 times faster than his. But there we go. My opponent Ryan was an absolutely lovely chap. Had a great game. He kept going until the end, until it was mathematically impossible for him to win. Absolutely great chap, and really, really enjoyed it. And I think I just, you know, a fluky matchup for me there, but I'll take it. Starting to feel a bit more confident with the Deepkin here. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you at the next bout report.